Hey everybody, welcome back to John's Jeep and Outdoor. I want to make a short video today explaining all the damage that I did to my Jeep on my last outing at Rimrock, Washington. We spent 3 days wheeling out there, and I'd like to go over some of the symptoms I was getting as the damage was occurring. And in hindsight, I should have been listening to all of the warnings, but give up 3 days of wheeling or wheel till the Jeep breaks. It's a hard decision to make. So here's the root cause of the issue. This is the lower right ball joint. Broken right at the taper shaft, and it broke right inside the knuckle itself. Now, I'm not sure if it was the knuckle that mushroomed out a little bit, allowing that thing to break, or if the broken ball joint, running around in there, mushroomed that out. I think probably maybe a combination of two, or not sure what the root cause was, whether it's just the aluminum knuckle or just a standard broken ball joint. Although it's hard for me to imagine that a ball joint would break inside that tapered shaft, but that's what happened. So here's the actual damage that I did to my FAD, the front axle disconnect. So this is the outbound axle coming out to the U joint. And as you can see, this shift collar right here kind of splits the difference in four-wheel drive, and then it sits over here on the outbound side in two-wheel drive. So while I was in four-wheel drive, this collar was it buggered up these splines really bad, because as the knuckle was flopping back and forth, the axle was coming in and coming out and not making full contact with the shift collar. That's what I believed happened. I think what I want to point out is this shift collar looks absolutely perfect. There was no damage to the shift collar at all that I could tell. It's just the axle that got all the damage. So the last thing that I'm waiting for is some tools to get a bearing out that sits on the pumpkin side of the FAD opening. There's a little tiny bearing that sits right in here. Probably not going to be able to see that on camera, but that bearing's got a whole bunch of metal shavings in it. And I'm trying to get all that axle cleaned out of metal shavings. And I got a new bearing to go in there, but it's going to take a slide hammer extension for me to get it out. So I want to talk a little bit about the symptoms that I was getting as all of this damage was occurring. So the first thing that was happening to me that I noticed was when you put your Jeep into four-wheel low, there's a little chime that comes on warning you that the traction control is off. I was getting that coming on in 4 low all the time. I just bounced down the trail and ding, ding. It was just driving me bananas, but I kept on going. That should have been my first warning to head on back to camp and really start looking over the Jeep. Second thing that I noticed was the Jeep was pulling fairly hard left. Not overly hard, but enough hard left to where I had to, continually hold it right down the road. Normally my Jeep will want to fall off the crown of the road to the right, but it was pulling really hard left. I'm assuming just because of the knuckle sitting the way that it was sitting and the tire kind of, not tracking down the road straight. So I believe as that axle was starting to shear off, I could feel that as well. I could hear some clunking coming from the axle itself. And as I was putting load on the Jeep, like coming down a steep hill, four-wheel drive low, letting the gearing hold me back, I could feel that thing kind of let loose every once in a while. And that was kind of a scary feeling. And at that point, I knew there was something catastrophically wrong with the Jeep, and I limped it back to camp and I kind of looked over it as well as I could, determined that it was okay to drive back home in two-wheel drive anyways, because I thought it was really an axle issue at the end of the day. I didn't realize the ball joint was broke until I got back home. And then the last thing is, by the time I got home, I'd probably wallered out that knuckle enough that I can actually hear the clunking down in there. I didn't think too much of the clunking at first. I thought it was just a track bar or maybe control arms kind of coming loose. So I was going to pull the Jeep into the driveway and start tightening up the suspension. I've had things come loose on me before and give a little bit of clunking. And as soon as I pulled it into the driveway and started getting tires off, I could see all the damage that I had actually done to it. So I wish I would have looked at that before I drove it home, but you know, at that rate I would have probably had to, I probably would have chose to trailer that Jeep home, which would have cost me a fortune. So instead I've risked my life driving it home. The decisions that we make sometimes. All right, everybody, well, that's all my problems in a nutshell with the Jeep and why I haven't been making videos. Hopefully it'll be fixed here pretty soon as I get some tools to pull that bearing out and get it replaced. And hopefully I'll be out on the trail very soon making some more adventures. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and share.